What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, Rico's behind the camera. Thank you, Rico, for all of your amazing work with these videos. Rico and I are discussing how to get stronger, not bigger. It's a really common question. I get it from a lot of women, but it's not exclusively women. People who ask tend to want to increase their strength. They want to get a stronger deadlift. They want to get a stronger chin up. They want to get a stronger push up, but they don't want to add the size. And this is what we're going to discuss in these 4 segments of this video. Personally, I have a lot of experience with this. As you can tell, I'm clearly not jacked or big or anything. During my powerlifting career, my whole purpose was to get as strong as I possibly could while staying as lean as I could. Reason being, I wanted to deadlift 4 times my body weight, which I ended up doing. I deadlifted 530 pounds at a body weight of 132 pounds. Basically, this is my specialty, getting stronger without getting massively big. So that's what we're gonna cover. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. Let's get into it, shall we? So for the first section, we're gonna examine the difference between strength and hypertrophy. Now, before you skip through this, I wanna preface by saying this can be pretty boring. Hopefully Rico is gonna make this less boring with good editing. Do not, please, I beg you, do not skip ahead to the how-to, because if you miss this part, you're not gonna fully understand it. Then you're gonna have unrealistic expectations, not make progress, complain in the comment section, blah, blah, blah. Watch this section. I promise I'll make it as quick as possible and you will have a much better understanding of how to do this properly. Strength, very basically, how much can you lift? How strong are you actually? How much weight can you move? Hypertrophy is a fancy word for muscle size. How big can you get your muscles? Hypertrophy means muscle growth. Now, a lot of people hear strength and they think that equates to getting bigger muscles. When you say, I wanna get stronger, people often think in their head, consciously or not, getting bigger. Now, important to realize, a bigger muscle has the potential to produce more force, has the potential to be a stronger muscle, but you don't have to get bigger in order to get stronger. It's not essential. I'll preface this by saying a lot of it has to do with neurological strength, your neuromuscular ability to recruit more motor units, more muscle fibers. The easiest way to explain this is think about gymnasts, for example, or ice skaters. Gymnasts, relatively small, especially if you look at the women, 90, 100, 110 pounds. So strong, it's mind-boggling what they can do. Look at ice skaters. Not only are they athletic and flexible and mobile and powerful, but they're holding people over their head while they're skating on ice, and they make it look easy. They're smiling, yes, do-do-do-do-do-do. It's like, what the fuck? That's outrageous strength. But they're not huge. They're not big, bulking. They're very mobile. And it's important to realize this difference because in order to get stronger, you do not have to get bigger. It's a lot to do with how you're training. It's a lot to do with intensity versus volume. It's a lot to do with training for speed and power, and also your nutrition, which we're gonna cover all of them in this video. But I really want to be very clear. You do not have to get bigger in order to be stronger, especially if you're training properly and eating properly. So let's get into intensity versus volume. All right, so this section is essentially saying how many sets and reps should you do and how much weight should you lift? Which, by the way, I have a video all on the best set and rep schemes in the description. Click that link if you want to know the absolute best sets and reps for strength and for hypertrophy and for endurance. Either way, when we're discussing intensity versus volume, I first want to define intensity. It's really important. A lot of people hear the word intensity and they think, all right, you're running really hard, you're sweating a lot, like it's like a CrossFit class or like a Barry's boot camp or something like that, super high intensity. And that is intense just by the general definition of the word, but the way we define intensity in weightlifting terms is how heavy you are lifting. The heavier the weight, the greater the intensity. Has nothing to do with how hard your heart rate is going or how much you're sweating. It's solely based on how heavy you're lifting. Volume is essentially how much weight you're lifting for how many sets and reps, all right? So a higher volume workout, we'll use, for example, 5 sets of 8. Just as a random example. And again, the link in the description tells you the best sets and reps for strength and hypertrophy and endurance. But 5 sets of 8 is more volume than, let's say, 3 sets of 5, okay? And I wanna sort of paint this picture, and Rico can sort of edit over this to explain how it works. But 5 sets of 8, you'd be using lower weight and more repetitions, also more sets. Higher intensity, for 3 sets of 5, you're using heavier weight for fewer sets and fewer reps. Now here's where a lot of people really get confused and they misunderstand. A lot of people think that the way you get bigger is by using heavier weight. And sort of logically you think, oh, that makes sense. Like if you want to get bigger, you have to use heavier weight. And in some cases, yes, that's accurate, but you have to reach a certain amount of volume in order to really get your muscular size bigger. If you're using heavier weight, a higher intensity, and a lower volume, you will increase your strength without getting your muscles bigger. And this is really important to remember. Higher intensity, lower volume equals more neuromuscular improvements in strength, not muscle size. I'm gonna repeat that one more time. Higher intensity workouts, lower volume workouts increase muscle strength, not muscle size. Basically, my way of saying, when you want to increase your strength, you have to lift heavy weights. If you want to increase your muscle size, you have to lift heavy-ish weights for enough volume. And that's when you do more sets and more repetitions. And again, this is more explained in the how many sets and reps you should be doing video, link in the description. But this is just an example. I want you to really understand, if you want to get stronger, you're not gonna do it by lifting lighter weights. The only way to get stronger is by progressively lifting more. This is the whole concept of progressive overload. Now, you can get stronger in many ways, much more than simply putting more weight on the bar, improving your technique, improving your range of motion, all these different ways. But if you want to get stronger, you have to be lifting more over time. Period, end of story. If you want to get bigger, if you want bigger muscles, that's when you need more volume, okay? Now, we're gonna get into speed and power or rate and force development. All right, we understand if you want to get stronger, you have to lift heavier. We get that. The next component, speed, power, rate of force development, this is the secret. This is the trick. This is what most people completely overlook or don't even know about. And if you want to get stronger, period, but especially get stronger without gaining size, this is really important. It all comes back to the neurological, neuromuscular interaction that we have, your brain telling your muscles to fire more quickly and more powerfully. This is where speed and power come into it. And I want to explain it by using a very boring discussion on Newton's second law, force equals mass times acceleration. Keeping in mind, before you fast forward, I was terrible in school. I was in special education. Anytime this type of thing got brought up, I'd be like, all right, whatever, when the f is lunch? This is super important because when you're understanding how much weight you can lift and getting stronger and improving your performance, this equation, force equals mass times acceleration, is just massively, massively critical to how you're going to perform. When we're looking at force equals mass times acceleration, obviously, if you want to lift heavier or if you want to lift a greater mass, you have to produce more force. That doesn't discuss the acceleration part. Where does that come in? If you want to increase the amount of force you produce, if you increase your acceleration, if you increase your speed, if you increase your power, that's one way of doing it. Now, the example I like to use here is, think about a baseball player, okay? And they're in the batter's box, they're on deck, and they're swinging, they're taking their practice swings. A lot of times you'll see them put on a weighted circle. It's called a donut, not the good kind of donut that we would eat, but a donut that you put on to weight the bat, okay? And essentially what it does is, it makes the bat heavier. So then when they take the donut off, they can swing faster. This is called post-activation potentiation. But what happens? Why would they want to swing faster? Number one, so they can get the bat around more quickly to meet the ball more quickly, so they have more speed. Not only that, when you can get the bat around more quickly and you can hit the ball with a greater bat speed, you put more force into the ball so it travels further. Home run, or a stronger line drive, whatever it is. The more you can accelerate something, the more quickly, the more powerfully you can get your muscles to act, the more force you're gonna be able to produce and the more weight you're gonna be able to lift. Now, I already have a video on this. For example, I have a deadlift video specifically on speed deadlift workouts, power deadlift workouts, that's in the description. That being said, this topic as a whole is huge. Could talk about it for a long time. If you want a full video on just speed and power development, tell me in the comment section, I'll do that. Also give the video a like, subscribe if you don't already. This is a topic that we could talk about for days. I also just wanna give a couple guidelines and recommendations. When you're talking about speed and power and rate of force development, you don't wanna use heavy weight. This is not to lift maximal weight. This is to improve speed and power. Keeping in mind, if it was about lifting heavy weight, then when the baseball batter put the donut on, they would use a donut that was wicked heavy. It's just like half a pound, maybe a pound, just enough to really force them to essentially use their brain better to get their muscles to fire more efficiently. It's just enough. So when you're deadlifting, anywhere between 50% 1 rep max to 75% 1 rep max at most. For example, kettlebell swings are another great option. You don't use a maximal weight to do a kettlebell swing. You might wanna do it for 5, 10, 15 reps at most, but even then you're getting a little bit more fatigued. When you're doing speed and power workouts, you wanna do it enough to where right before you fatigue. It's not supposed to drench you with sweat. And this is where CrossFit and a lot of these group classes, they get things wrong when they're trying to tire people out. when they're trying to chase a stimulus, a feeling, as opposed to a result. Why would you ever do 100 box jumps? Aside from it being dangerous, if you want to improve how high you can jump, do sets of 2, sets of 3, sets of 4, full rest. Don't risk injury. Give your muscles and brain full recovery in between every rep. Box jumps, broad jumps, kettlebell swings. These are all great lower body exercises to improve your rate of force development. Speed push-ups, clap push-ups, dumbbell push presses. These are all overhead or upper body exercises that improve your speed and rate of force development. Now, again, I could talk about this for hours. If you want me to make a full video on this topic alone, tell me in the comment section. We will do that. For now, let's get into nutrition. All right, so first and foremost, when we get into nutrition, I want you to realize I spelled protein wrong. We just realized that in between filming these segments. Rico is like, I'm pretty sure you spelled that wrong, asshole. He didn't actually call me an asshole, but so it's E before I. I was confused while I was writing this, so I apologize for that. But if you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. This is the most important part. And actually, I'm gonna take that back because it's not the most important part, but it is absolutely critical. Here's the deal, and this is the sum and substance of gaining size. If you are not in a calorie surplus, you're not gonna get bigger. Period, end of story. You could train with very high volume, you could do zero speed and power work, you could do everything wrong, but if you were in a calorie deficit or eating at maintenance, you wouldn't be gaining size. So if you wanna get stronger and not bigger, the most important component of not getting bigger is not eating too many calories. Period, end of story. I'm gonna repeat that. As long as you are not eating too many calories, you will not gain size. That's it. So that side of this, the not getting big part, is not eating too much. The strength part comes from this and this and this. The not getting too big part comes from this. A lot of people will say, wait, you can't get stronger in a calorie deficit. And that's when I'm gonna take you back to here and make you understand that strength does not mean muscle size, right? In the very first segment, we spoke about how you can get stronger without getting bigger muscles. So when people say you can't get stronger in a calorie deficit, that's them equating strength with muscle size. It's not the same thing. You can absolutely get stronger without your muscles getting bigger. And that's from neuromuscular improvements. Go back to the gymnasts, go back to the ice skaters. That's how all this works. You can absolutely get stronger while losing fat. In fact, I would say this. If you are not getting stronger while you're losing fat, your training is off, your nutrition is off, or both. Period, end of story. I think I've said that 3 times already in this segment. Period, end of story. Calories, either in a deficit or at maintenance. Protein, really simple, 1 gram per pound of, we'll call it your goal body weight. There's a lot of different equations for this. You could go based off of lean body mass, you could go off of your current body weight. There's a million different ways to look at it. Number 1 is I have a video on how many calories you should eat if you want to lose fat. If you haven't seen that yet, link in the description. I also have a video on how many macros, what macros you should be eating if you want to lose fat. Link is in the description. That's going to explain my personal formula for that. Either way, don't get too confused. Don't create all of this excitement and uncertainty and anxiety over, oh, how many grams of protein am I gonna have? Is it goal body weight? Is it lean body mass? Is it, how much protein should I have? Just fucking pick one. I promise you, you're gonna be fine. Most people, they get so anxious and nervous and overthink everything to the point where they don't do anything. Just fucking pick one and go with it. My personal favorite is goal body weight, and I guarantee there are gonna be people, but what if I don't know what my goal body weight is? Just fucking pick one and go with it. Even if you don't ever reach that body weight, it doesn't matter. It's okay. Pick one and stick with it. Consistency above rigidity. Consistency is the most important thing. If you're not sure how many calories you're supposed to be eating, link in the description. If you don't know how much protein or carbs or fats you should be having, link in the description. If you want to get stronger without getting bigger, calorie deficit and or maintenance, well, you're getting enough protein and you're good. I will also add, if you want to figure out your maintenance calories, I did a whole video on reverse dieting. That video, linked in the description. It will tell you how to find your maintenance calories in that video. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you want me to make the video on speed and power development, tell me in the comment section. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you don't already. And again, just thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Rico for filming and editing. That's all I've got to say. I love you. I'll talk to you soon.